Welcome back to our GP versus BC video series. In the video 4.0, we talked about non-main account segments and how those map to Business Central's dimensions. In today's video, we're going to be diving into the engine behind the scenes, how GP and BC determine which general ledger accounts get defaulted on transactions. Two very different approaches to the same goal. Just a quick note before jumping in. This topic is one of the biggest mindset shifts when moving from GP to BC. We hear it all the time in the community that posting setup and dimensions in Business Central feels like a whole new world. So if you're feeling a little lost, you are not alone. Give yourself some grace. Hopefully this video will help you connect the dots, and once it clicks, you'll start to see why Business Central's structure really pays off. A quick recap of episode 4.0. Remember in GP, we're used to telling the entire financial story through the account string. What we sold, who we sold to, what project, region, or division was it tied to. All of that packed into account segments. This is not how Business Central works. Business Central flips the script. Instead of cramming everything into the general ledger account string, it splits these roles. Posting groups move the money. Dimensions tell the story. Now, before we even get into what posting groups are, let's tackle a question that trips a lot of people up when first learning Business Central. Do I need a new posting group, or is this just a dimension? Here's the test. Ask yourself, does this change where the money lands in the ledger? If the answer is yes, as in it needs to hit a different revenue, expense, inventory account, that's a posting group. If you're just looking to slice and dice or report on things like region, department, line of business, project, that's a dimension. With that recap behind us, let's dive into how GP and BC handle defaulting accounts. In GP, default accounts can come from a handful of places: item cards, customer or vendor cards, class IDs, and sometimes even system setup windows. Where GP pulls from depends on the transaction's type, and each module has its own flavor of logic. Let's start with the big picture. Posting groups are how Business Central knows which general ledger accounts to hit when you enter a transaction. Each posting group has a set of codes, and each of those codes is linked to specific GL accounts through something called posting setup. You can think of it like this. The posting group defines the category or the purpose. The code is the specific label. And the posting setup says, when you see this code, use these accounts. Then finally, those codes are assigned to your master records, things like items, vendors, customers. So when you enter a transaction, BC checks which codes are on the record, looks them up in the posting setup, and automatically defaults the correct accounts. Now that we understand how posting groups work, in general, let's break down into the three types that you'll see in Business Central. First up is customer and vendor posting groups. When you send an invoice or you receive a vendor's bill, these posting groups determine where it will land in the ledger. They control accounts like receivables, payables, service charges, and payment discounts. Think AR, AP. Now to get those accounts to default correctly, you'll head to the customer or vendor card and assign the appropriate posting group. For example, Alpine Ski House is a customer of ours, a domestic customer. So when I enter an invoice for Alpine, Business Central will check the customer's posting setup and see that it is for a domestic customer, and it should use the receivables account 15110. Next is inventory posting groups. These control accounts like inventory and WIP for stocked items. If you're using locations like a warehouse or a technician's vehicle, then inventory posting groups will work in tandem with locations to figure out the general ledger to default. Now to get these accounts to default correctly, you'll head to the item card and assign the right inventory posting group. In this case, the item is tagged with resale. So when a transaction is entered for this item, Business Central checks the inventory posting setup, finds resale, and pulls in the right GL account. In our example, that would be 14130. Now the third and final type, general posting groups, and these come as a pair. General business, who am I buying from or selling to? And general product, what am I buying or selling? Together, these two link up in the general posting setup table to determine key accounts like sales, purchases, cost of goods sold, and taxes. In the general posting setup, you'll see how the business and product posting groups work together as a matrix. This setup drives key accounts like sales, purchasing, credit memos, discounts, and more, based on the combination of who you're transacting with and what you're transacting. Now, to get the general posting to default correctly, you'll need to set both the general business posting group and the general product posting group. Together, these will drive the general posting setup and determine which accounts to use when you're entering transactions. A fast recap. BC has 3 posting group types, all of which have codes that get assigned to master records and looked up in the posting setup to determine which accounts to default in when entering transactions. We hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for tuning in. If you're thinking about making the move from GP to BC, we'd love to connect. Stay tuned for more bite-sized GP to BC videos coming soon.